Battle of Brunanburh, Aethelstan, the king who united England but divided Britain. What makes a ruler not just a king, but a legend? How did a young boy, once dismissed as an outsider, rise to wield the power of an empire? And why did his unrelenting ambition not only unite England but sow the seeds of division across Britain? This is the story of Aethelstan, warrior, diplomat, and visionary, the man who claimed the crown not just for Wessex, but for an entire nation. But it wasn't an easy road. Why did Athelstan's own family turn against him after his father's death? What storm was brewing in the north that would culminate in one of the bloodiest battles of the Dark Ages? And what secrets did Athelstan's campaigns in Wales and Scotland uncover, laying the foundation for centuries of English dominance? As we unravel the twists and turns of this epic saga, from the political chaos of Edward the Elder's death to the thunderous clash of steel at Brunanburh, we'll also ask, how did Athelstan's vision for a united England reshape the very identity of Britain? And could his boldness be the reason England has remained divided from Scotland and Wales to this day? Hold on to your swords and scrolls. This is a tale of power, betrayal, and destiny you won't want to miss. In the year 894 AD, amidst the rolling hills and fertile lands of Wessex, a child was born under the shadow of turmoil, a child destined to change the fate of England. This was Aethelstan, the son of King Edward the Elder and his mysterious first wife, Ecgwin. But before we delve into his remarkable birth and the prophetic dreams that surrounded it, let's paint a vivid picture of the stormy world into which he was born. Edward the Elder, son of Alfred the Great, reigned from 899 to 924. Known for his stoic leadership and resilience, he earned the title Elder not because of his age, but as a mark of his wisdom and his position as a stabilizing figure during England's turbulent years. Edward had inherited a kingdom constantly under siege, both from external threats like the Vikings and from internal divisions among the Anglo-Saxon nobility. Edward's reign was defined by a single, unrelenting enemy, the Vikings. These seafaring warriors, known as the Danes in England, the Normans in northern France, and the Russ in Eastern Europe, had carved a reputation as ruthless raiders and conquerors. Their longships, sleek and fast, carried terror wherever they landed. Villages burned, monasteries were plundered, and societies were left shattered in their wake. At first, the Vikings were little more than opportunistic raiders. They would descend upon coastal towns, loot churches of their gold and relics, and return to Scandinavia with their spoils. But from the mid-9th century onward, they began to change tactics. No longer content with fleeting raids, they started settling, claiming lands as their own. Northern and eastern England fell under Viking control, forming powerful territories like the Kingdom of Northumbria and the Kingdom of East Anglia. These were not wild barbarian realms, but organized states ruled by Viking leaders who often adopted local customs. The Danes became a fixture in English politics, much to the dismay of the Anglo-Saxon rulers. Aethelstan's grandfather, Alfred the Great, is often celebrated for his dramatic victory over the Vikings at the Battle of Edington in 878. This confrontation saw Alfred rallying his forces to defeat the Viking king Guthrum. The victory led to the Treaty of Wedmore, wherein Guthrum converted to Christianity and retreated to East Anglia. However, this victory was far from absolute. The Danes remained a powerful presence, and Alfred's triumph merely delayed their expansion. For Aethelstan, this legacy of unfinished business with the Vikings would become a defining aspect of his reign. Little is known of Ecgwin, Aethelstan's mother, but her influence was profound. A woman of noble lineage, her life was shrouded in mystery. Some accounts suggest she was the daughter of a powerful ealdorman, while others whisper that her origins were more humble. What we do know is that she had a series of dreams during her pregnancy, dreams so vivid and foretelling that they became the talk of the court. In one dream, she saw a golden tree rising from Wessex, its branches stretching across the land. She interpreted this as a sign that her child would unite the fractured kingdoms of England. When she shared her vision, a skeptical noble quipped, "The only thing that unites kingdoms is the Viking axe." But Ecgwin remained steadfast in her belief. In 894, Aethelstan was born. His name, meaning noble stone, was a testament to the expectations placed upon him. It was said that Alfred the Great himself took a special interest in the boy, seeing in him a spark of greatness. At Alfred's court, Aethelstan was immersed in the teachings of the church, the intricacies of law, and the strategies of war. One of the most memorable moments of his childhood came when Alfred presented him with a jeweled sword. "In your hands, this blade may forge a single kingdom from many," Alfred said. The young boy held the sword with both hands, his eyes shining with determination. Aethelstan's tutors were handpicked from among Alfred's learned court, a place where Latin, scripture, and governance were taught with the same gravity as the handling of a sword. The boy's mornings began with law lessons where he grappled with the intricacies of justice. Aethelstan had a knack for finding gaps in logic, much to the frustration of his legal tutor, Father Egbert. "This lad argues like a lawyer," the priest grumbled once. "But mark my words, he'll draft laws even the devil would obey." Afternoons were devoted to martial training under seasoned warriors. His instructors, hardened by battles with Vikings and rebellious Mercian lords, pushed Aethelstan beyond his limits. Though slight in build as a boy, his spirit burned fiercely. His father, Edward the Elder, once handed him a sword that was too heavy for the boy to lift. "Aethelstan," Edward said with a smile, "one day your arm will be strong enough to wield this blade, and England will bend to it." Aethelstan's early years were not without shadows. His mother, Ecgwin, a woman of noble yet mysterious origins, vanished from court life when Edward annulled their marriage. The reasons remain unclear, though political expediency is often blamed. Some say Mercian nobles deemed Ecgwin unfit to be queen. Others whisper of court intrigue and rival factions. Whatever the cause, Ecgwin disappeared, and Aethelstan was left to grapple with her absence. Though he never spoke openly of the pain, it hardened him. A court scribe once overheard the boy muttering, "If the world takes my mother, I shall take the world in return." And indeed, this grief fueled his resolve to rise above personal tragedy and fulfill the destiny that seemed to follow him like a shadow. King Edward the Elder, a man of unrelenting will, passed from this world on July 17, 924, in his 50th year. His death left England teetering on the edge of chaos. Edward had spent his reign consolidating Wessex's power and subduing Mercia, but the realm was far from united. Upon his death, the question of succession loomed large, and not everyone agreed that Aethelstan was the rightful heir. Edward's son by his second wife, Elfweard, quickly staked his claim to the throne. Backed by powerful Mercian nobles, Elfweard seemed poised to divide the kingdom. Aethelstan, though the elder son, found himself at a disadvantage, especially among the West Saxons, who viewed him with suspicion due to his upbringing in Mercia. For 16 fraught days, the realm hovered on the brink of civil war. Then, in a twist that seemed almost too convenient, Elfweard died suddenly. The official cause was listed as an illness, but whispers in the corridors of power suggested poison. One Mercian lord, after a night of heavy drinking, was overheard saying, "It seems God or someone with a steady hand has chosen Aethelstan after all." Despite Elfweard's death, Aethelstan's path to the throne was anything but smooth. The West Saxons, particularly those loyal to Edward's later queens, harbored doubts about Aethelstan's legitimacy. His mixed heritage, born of a mother some considered politically insignificant, was used against him. Yet Aethelstan wielded cunning over brute force, forming strategic alliances that would later define his reign. Athelstan's most notable political move was the marriage of his sister to Sitric, the Viking king of York. This union not only pacified a long-standing enemy, but also underscored Aethelstan's vision of a united England. It wasn't until September 925, a full 14 months after Edward's death, that Athelstan was crowned at Kingston upon Thames. The ceremony itself was groundbreaking. Breaking from traditional West Saxon rites, it included elements of continental grandeur, reflecting Athelstan's ambition to be seen not just as a king, but as a ruler of all England. During the coronation, the archbishop declared, "This is the king who shall make one kingdom from many." The words resonated deeply, though not all ears welcomed them. Northumbrians and even some West Saxons remained wary. Athelstan's early reign would be marked by efforts to quell dissent, secure his borders, and prove that he was not merely a king of inheritance, but one of destiny. Before Athelstan's time, The concept of England, Wales, and Scotland as distinct entities was non-existent. The Celtic Britons of pre-Roman Britain saw the island as one land, divided by tribal territories rather than national borders. Scotland's unique identity emerged because it was the one region the Romans never fully conquered. Over time, Gaelic settlers from Ireland heavily influenced its culture. In contrast, Wales developed its political independence largely because it resisted Anglo-Saxon conquest. King Offa of Mercia in the 8th century built a massive earthwork, Offa's Dyke, that marked the border between England and Wales. This dyke became a symbol of Welsh identity, even as English rulers like Aethelstan sought to impose their control. The island of Britain was a patchwork quilt of competing identities. The Celts of Wales, the Scots of Alba, the Norse Gaels of Ireland and the Isles, and the Anglo-Saxons all jostled for supremacy. England as we know it didn't exist. The Romans had long departed, leaving behind a power vacuum filled by invading Saxons, Angles, and Jutes. Wales, a proud land of fierce independence, Wales maintained its identity despite Anglo-Saxon pressure. King Offa of Mercia had attempted to fortify England's western border in the 8th century by constructing Offa's Dyke, a massive earthwork. This line symbolized the division between Anglo-Saxon and Welsh territories, but it also cemented Wales as a distinct political and cultural entity. Scotland, the northern reaches of Britain were equally fragmented. What we now call Scotland was a melting pot of Picts and Gaels, with the latter heavily influenced by settlers from Ireland. The Romans never fully conquered this region, leaving it ripe for its own distinct development. The Norse influence. Across the Irish Sea, Norse Gaelic kingdoms had taken root, and their raiders frequently clashed with Anglo-Saxon territories. From Dublin, the formidable King Olaf Guthfrithson eyed the fertile lands of Northumbria hungrily. Amid this chaos, Aethelstan emerged, a man with both the ambition and the mettle to carve a united kingdom out of this fractious land. Aethelstan's troubles were not merely external. His half-brother Edwine, ever the thorn in his side, still enjoyed support in Winchester and other southern strongholds. Edwine's base of power included the influential Bishop of Winchester, whom Athelstan had unceremoniously excluded from court. Rumors swirled of secret meetings, hushed alliances, and plots to unseat the king. By 933, Edwine's ambitions reached their breaking point. A mysterious disturbance in Wessex erupted, though chroniclers left us maddeningly vague about the specifics. What is known is that Edwine fled the country by ship. Perhaps he hoped to rally foreign allies for a return, but fate, or perhaps his brother, had other plans. Edwine's ship sank in treacherous waters, and the prince perished. Was it an act of God or the long arm of Athelstan? Later sources suggest the king might have orchestrated the accident. Either way, the message was clear. There would be no room for rival claimants in Athelstan's England. With Edwine out of the picture, Athelstan turned his attention to the north. Tensions with Scotland had been brewing for years. In 934, Athelstan launched a devastating campaign against King Constantine VI, who had dared to test the southern king's patience. Athelstan's army marched north, burning crops, sacking villages, and leaving a trail of ashes across the countryside. His navy, led by loyal Danish commanders, ravaged the coastal settlements of the Norse Gaels. It was a brutal, scorched-earth campaign, and the message was clear: defy the King of England at your peril. However, the conflict was far from over. Constantine, licking his wounds, began to build an alliance. He joined forces with Olaf Guthfrithson, the Norse king of Dublin, and Owain, king of Strathclyde. This coalition of Scots, Norse, and Britons was united by one purpose: to stop Aethelstan's expansion. Aethelstan had secured control over Northumbria, marking the first time a single ruler had united the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. But Aethelstan wasn't content with merely being king of the English. He envisioned something greater: imperium, or the rule over all of Britain. At a council held at Emont that same year, Aethelstan summoned the rulers of Britain's Pearl Kingdoms, Welsh lords like Hywel Scottish King Constantine II, and others. Under Athelstan's watchful eye, these leaders pledged their loyalty and agreed to pay tribute. To ensure their compliance, Athelstan demanded hostages, often the sons or close relatives of these rulers, who were raised at his court in England as guarantees of future obedience. Athelstan's military prowess wasn't confined to the battlefield. It extended to the tactics of intimidation and scorched earth. In 934, he launched a brutal campaign into Scotland, sacking villages, burning crops, and leaving the land in ashes. This was no mere show of force, it was a declaration of his capacity to enforce his will. Wales, too, found itself under Aethelstan's shadow. Although Offa's Dyke had long defined the border, Aethelstan's victories pressured Welsh rulers like Idwal of Gwynedd to recognize his authority. The Welsh lords agreed to pay tribute, but the hostages Aethelstan took from them revealed their grudging compliance. The alliance against Aethelstan grew stronger with each act of dominance. By 937, a grand coalition of enemies had formed. King Olaf Guthfrithson of Dublin, Constantine of Scotland, and Owain of Strathclyde set aside their differences to confront the Anglo-Saxon king. Their target was Northumbria, a jewel in Aethelstan's crown. On a misty plain near the river Mersey, the combined forces of Constantine, Olaf, and Owain assembled. Their army was a fearsome patchwork, Norse warriors wielding axes, Scots clad in tartan plaids, and Strathclyde spearmen with shields polished for war. Across the field, Aethelstan's forces stood ready. His army was a testament to his unifying vision. Anglo-Saxons, loyal Danes, and Welsh auxiliaries stood shoulder to shoulder. His commanders included his brother Edmund, a rising star of martial prowess, and trusted Danish allies who had been promised wealth and lands for their service. The battle began at dawn. Aethelstan's forces advanced in disciplined shield walls, their spears gleaming in the morning light. The enemy coalition, less cohesive in strategy, but no less ferocious, surged forward in a chaotic mass. The clash of steel was deafening, the screams of the wounded chilling. Athelstan himself led a daring charge, wielding a jeweled sword passed down from his grandfather. Chroniclers claimed he cut through the enemy ranks like a lion among sheep. Meanwhile, his brother Edmund flanked the enemy, breaking their cohesion. By nightfall, the field was littered with the dead. The coalition had been shattered. Constantine fled back to Scotland, Olaf escaped to Dublin, and Owain of Strathclyde disappeared into the mists. The victory was so complete that the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle described it as the greatest slaughter in a single day since the arrival of the Saxons. Aethelstan's victory at Brunanburh secured his legacy as the first true king of a united England. But the distinctions between England, Wales, and Scotland remained. These divisions stemmed from centuries of cultural and political evolution. Scotland, its identity emerged as a blend of Pictish and Gaelic influences, strengthened by its resistance to Roman and Anglo-Saxon incursions. Wales, Offa's Dyke, symbolized its separate identity, while the survival of the Welsh language reinforced its uniqueness. England, Aethelstan's consolidation of power, laid the groundwork for a unified kingdom. Athelstan's reign also sowed the seeds of England's future governance. His Wheatons, councils of nobles and clergy, offered a model of consultation and decision-making that would evolve into the English Parliament. Athelstan's personal life, or lack thereof, was a perennial topic of intrigue. Unlike his contemporaries who married to forge alliances or secure heirs, Aethelstan chose celibacy. This decision baffled and scandalized his court. Suitors from Europe's most powerful families sent emissaries, each bearing tales of their daughter's beauty and virtue, only to return empty-handed. The king, it seemed, was not interested. This sparked rumors, and the court buzzed with gossip. Some speculated that Aethelstan's devotion to God left no room for earthly attachments. Others whispered of a secret romance with a noblewoman, a love so profound and forbidden that it could never be acknowledged. Yet no evidence of such a liaison exists, leaving historians and romantics alike to wonder. By the late 1930s, the weight of the crown and years of campaigning had taken their toll. Athelstan's once vigorous frame grew frail. He withdrew to Gloucester, a city steeped in Saxon tradition, to live out his remaining days. Here, surrounded by loyalists and clerics, he reflected on his reign. Despite his physical decline, his mind remained sharp, and he convened his council one last time. Unity, he reportedly told them from his bed, is not given but earned. Guard it well, for it is the soul of this kingdom. Athelstan passed away on October 27, 939, leaving no direct heirs. His burial at Malmesbury Abbey was a poignant statement of his enduring faith. Even in death, Athelstan's influence lingered. Pilgrims flocked to the abbey to honor England's first true king. the man who had stitched together a patchwork of warring territories into a unified realm. In life, Aethelstan's policies and conquests set the foundations for modern England. In death, his legacy inspired generations of rulers. The controversies of his reign, his clash with pagan traditions, his preference for clerics, and his celibate lifestyle did not diminish his greatness. Instead, they painted the portrait of a complex, driven leader whose ultimate allegiance was to the dream of a united England. The echoes of his reign linger even today, in every parish church, in every border stone between England and Wales, and in every historian's retelling of this extraordinary king's life. Aethelstan, a man of faith, controversy, and vision, forever etched in the annals of history. Aethelstan's reign marked the beginning of a united England, but his legacy extends beyond the battlefield. He was a lawgiver, a diplomat, and a visionary who understood the power of both sword and pen. Though England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland remain distinct today, they owe much of their shared history to Aethelstan's ambition. He laid the foundation for a kingdom that would evolve into the United Kingdom, shaping the destiny of the British Isles for centuries to come. And so, the story of Aethelstan, warrior, statesman, and king, lives on, immortalized in the chronicles of history and the lands he fought to unite. For more thrilling journeys into history, follow us, subscribe, and click the notification button to be first in line whenever we share a new story from the past. The battles may be centuries old, but the lessons are timeless.